B60. Well, that's not just a motto for life, that's also the name of the car I'll be driving. Welcome to the future with Mahindra's new Born Electric. Not a concept, the car's here, and this is your first look on the show, the new Mahindra Born Electric B60. What's it like to drive? Is it a spaceship? Is it from the future? Does it pass the tech check? All that and a lot more on this special episode. Join me on the inside. In the cockpit of the B6E, and I say cockpit with an emphasis on that word because you've got this aircraft-like lever right over here putting me in drive with an electronic parking brake. Put the car in drive and we are off to a good start here in Chennai. Absolutely stunning that this is a proof of concept. It's actually the real car. This is a production spec. You're going to get this January onwards in India. What that really means is every time we see a car at a mobility show, a motor show, you see a bunch of vision concepts. This one, maybe 3 years ago, was displayed. A new platform was sort of created. It's called the INGLO platform. We'll talk about that in a bit. But we're here right now in November 2024 and the car is here for all of us to drive. Mahindra does things in a big way. We're here in Chennai. We were at Mahindra Research Valley earlier. I was at the launch event, spoke to the entire auto community, all of us, media and influencers. And everyone seems to think of one thing when you're talking about this car. This is genuinely born electric. And two, this is made in India for the rest of the world. Well, this is the first time I'm driving in Chennai. I'm used to being driven around over here. And we're driving to a special location where we will swap over to the other Born Electric EV from the Mahindra stables. But this one, being the slightly more inexpensive one, honestly is on the same INGLO platform. You get this in 59 kilowatt hour and 79 kilowatt battery packs. And if you're getting a range of over 500 kilometers or roughly around that, even if you get anywhere above 400, you've got a car which is sorted for the city, for your normal daily errands. Now, if you want to take this on the highway, and I know that there's a team at Mahindra working on faster charging options. Yes, you can get this to almost 80% charge in 20 minutes. That's what Mahindra claims. We'll test that when we have this for a longer term. But the main thing you need to talk about is the cabin, the cockpit, the design. There's this very futuristic sort of a screen right here. A very sporty steering wheel with the new Born Electric logo. And by the way, that logo reveal was absolutely crazy at the event. It feels like you're in an Indian Cybertruck, and I've not even gotten into the other EV, which is even more Cybertruck-esque. So honestly, if you're talking about India-made products for the rest of the world, these will get more refined and it's just going to get better and better. In terms of design, I haven't seen anything like this in India for sure. The design teams worked in overdrive compared to what Mahindra makes on the SUV side. And honestly, there's a lot of SUV DNA in this car as well. The door handles have been replaced by these sort of pull to tug sort of lanyards over here, which I'd really want to test the durability of, but right now it's a lot of fun. Gives you that SUV feel. Also, compared to rivals in the space, the suspension is definitely much improved, and it's also, well, got some decent ground clearance. What's the drive quality like? Let me actually, well, it's a smooth acceleration because you're getting that in nearly 6 seconds, 0 to 100. But yes, if you're driving on these lovely roads here in Chennai, it seems fine. The car seems eager to go ahead, especially in this mode. But if you ask me, it feels very, very electric. Different from Mahindra's XEV 400 and the other cars. This one seems a lot more poised, a lot more controlled here on this highway. And braking wise as well, I think they have worked on the entire braking system in this car. They've also worked on the dampers. Very, very silent cabin, well insulated from all around you. Also, if you're worried about UV rays, all of this glass is UV filtered. So in terms of UV filtration, they've got that sorted as well. cabin purification is sorted in this vehicle, and honestly, you feel like you're sitting in something from the future. Could the suspension have been a bit better? If you're comparing it to luxury EVs, maybe, but then you're getting much better ground clearance and a little bit of off-road DNA. So I think that's a compromise or a trade-off that I'm willing to make. But honestly, I'm just soaking it all in here in wet Chennai with the newest EV on the block, something that is going to shake up the world and genuinely be a power surge into the future. Now, if you're talking about the infotainment screen and why a lot of this is working quite seamlessly, it's running on a state-of-the-art Qualcomm Snapdragon chipset. We're used to that in the tech world. We know the kind of efficiency you can get. Qualcomm, MediaTek have been investing heavily on their cockpits, on their auto platforms. That's the next big thing in tech. And honestly, auto is the next big thing, but tech is the biggest thing that's happened to auto. And that's why this chipset seems to really have a lot of things that are working. When I was connecting Android Auto, it worked seamlessly. Wireless Android Auto, wireless CarPlay here in this car, and it took me a matter of seconds. There's these A.R. Rahman tunes and moods that really light up the car. And if you're talking about this particular car, there's a central infotainment and a also passenger use screen along with theater mode that syncs all these screens. You can really bring your own device for the rear passengers, and this one features a 12.3-inch floating screen layout. All the models in this car have ADAS, a 360-degree camera, and a 2-spoke illuminated steering wheel. Holding the steering wheel, you feel like you are genuinely in the future because it gives you a sense of control, but it's also very sporty. I think it's really designed well by the Mahindra team. I'm going to slow down here and just check out what the braking system is like. One touch driving is a possibility as well. Regen really kicks in and helps charge the battery a little bit. A very interesting proposition. I'm on 74% range based on how someone else must have driven it before me, and it's giving me 327 kilometers. So this can definitely give you over 450 kilometers, even if you're racing it all around the city. But Mahindra claims somewhere over 500, 525 kilometers is what the real range is like for a car which can go from 0 to 100 in 6.7 seconds, has a bunch of modes, of course, very minimalistic in terms of the buttons and stuff like that, very military grade in terms of 2 wireless charging pads. What's interesting is, if you think of what Mahindra has been doing all over the years, it's all culminated, I think, into the born electric vision. From the ADAS is getting better and better, even better than the XEV 700. You actually can now, the car can sense if the car ahead of you is going too slow, you want to overtake it, you put the indicator on, the car will turn for you. Very Tesla-esque in its features. That's something I'll want to test when we have the car for a longer period, like I said. But all of this seems to be building to a crescendo for this born electric vision. So I think Mahindra has really invested heavily, and I think this is a big bet for them. Everything must work out. Design has to be spot on. The green number plate has to be aspirational. Range has to be optimized. It should be something that Gen Z really wants. And most importantly, the tech should be on point. So this is our initial impressions, but honestly, it really feels like this isn't a car that you have seen ever before, especially in India. And it's made in India, made for the world. In terms of the tech, also the platform being Maya, which is their real version of applied intelligence or artificial intelligence. A lot of the machine learning algorithms and things need to work in a car like this. Someone's crossing the road randomly ahead of me. The car seems to have detected that there's a pedestrian there. But I think earlier Mahindras, even their ICE vehicles, have done a fairly good job at this as well. Drowsiness detection and this driver integrated lane change assist. All of these features are part of the package. That's not all. You have 3 drive modes: range, everyday, and race. You have auto park, which works both inside and outside the car. And both models will offer a battery warranty for first owners, limited to 10 years or 200,000 kilometers for subsequent owners. So they're trying to make this a tantalizing package. Someone sitting out there figures there are questions about electric vehicles, but What if we approach this differently? A born electric vision here at Mahindra, and this is nothing like we've driven before from Mahindra or any other automaker. So it's just interesting to see. What I really want to know is how people respond to this, because some of these design tweaks, some of these tech tweaks are great to see, refreshing, iconoclastic, clutter breaking, but how will people respond to some of these things? Because honestly, if this is the future, then sign me up already. But what about the present? Will people be a little intimidated by all of this? I know some of us, even our camera team, were a little reluctant to figure things out over here. It's very, very radically different from what we are used to. And I think that's something we'll have to see with more adoption and with lesser reluctance and friction to adopt newer technologies. But I'm guessing the next gen, people who are tech savvy, people who want to experiment, will be very impressed with the B6E. Okay, let me pull over here and talk a little bit more about the tech in the car. Before I get into the platform, which is INGLO, there is a 16-speaker Harman Kardon system in this car. 1400 watts of output, most importantly, Dolby Atmos. In a car under 20 lakh rupees, which is the headline for me, but we'll want to test that with days to come very quickly. Okay, what I can tell you is that the way literally that things come on and go off, there's a slight reverberation. It feels like this is a concert venue in the car. It helps that there's so much space around me as well. So that's quite a big headline there. Dolby Atmos coming in a car, and with that level of quality. Let's talk a little bit about this platform, because Mahindra started work on this a couple of years ago. In fact, 3 years ago, the INGLO platform. So INGLO is Mahindra's new electric car platform, purpose-built with maximum efficiency, something they started working on a couple of years ago, and it's here in the flesh for us to see. This car and all other born electric cars built from the ground up as electric. It sounds a little bit like Apple Intelligence, but this is in the electric automotive space. These vehicles are on a skateboard-like architecture, which means that they can adjust these flexible wheelbases, give you different sort of cars. In fact, the B6E and the XEV, they're going to have very similar, well, bases or platforms. But what changes really is perhaps how the roof is, how you adjust things between the wheels for maximum efficiency, the best sort of range, battery performance, and most importantly, space within the cabin. Now, it's interesting when you enter a car like this, it's like you're entering a Tesla Cybertruck. So the advantage of a platform like this is it is one of the lightest skateboard-like architecture designs out there. You have one of the lightest flat floor skateboard architectures in the industry. That means better range and performance, high density, battery technology. You're going to have range nearly up to 500 kilometers in this car. You have a lightweight structure, like I said, fast charging, 20 to 80% charge in just 20 minutes. All of this is scalable. You can come up with a diverse range of EVs. Most importantly, you have all this advanced tech over here running on Qualcomm Snapdragon, and it is a unique sound package in this car. You can also have all these features like ADAS on this sort of platform. So you have the tech, you have the design, and you have the scalability. That's what I want to tell you a little bit about INGLO, the platform that Mahindra is betting on. And we'll obviously drive the other slightly bigger EV in this space, the elder brother, and see what that's like. It's funny to be driving here in Chennai and seeing nearly 100 Mahindra EVs that the world's been waiting for 3 years, all out on the streets over here. Well, that's how the guys at Mahindra like to do an event. And honestly, it's like a very, very interesting congregation, a mela of sorts for all of us to meet and chat about what's happening in the world of auto and tech. Now, in this car, you have a 455-litre boot, plenty of space in the rear, and then a 45-litre frunk as well, if that's something you want to use. A lot of storage space over here, 2 wireless charging pads. It takes some time getting used to this cockpit right here. But now the past couple of years, we've been seeing MediaTek and Qualcomm as chip makers talking about what their auto cockpits will be about, connected car ecosystems and stuff like that. But here is where you get to see it. Qualcomm Snapdragon chipset over here, state of the art in terms of automotive and what they're doing with Mahindra. But everything works seamlessly. If this is an EV which has been built to take on the likes of perhaps the Tata Curve EV, the Hyundai Ioniq, which is a lot more expensive, or the Kia EV6, which is also very expensive, nearly 3 times this cost. And then you also have, I think, a couple of other options, maybe the Mercedes EQA, which is in the luxury category. But we've driven the EQA, and it's definitely not as generous when we're talking about space. This one, in terms of what they've done with the cabin, feels a lot more premium. In terms of the Ioniq and the Kia EV6, I think the other ones coming out of that stable, that is a very, very refined, but a very premium, expensive car. If you're getting a made in India EV at this price point, then it's something worth considering. We'll have to see what after sales is like. We'll have to see how these cars really evolve, shape up. And honestly, if all of these claims about charging, fast charging, nearly in 20 minutes to 80%, and all the other things that have been said, I think it'll be interesting to see how all of this pans out. And then, in theory at least, and with our initial impressions, you have quite a front runner in the EV race. But time will tell how this electric vision, born electric vision, shapes up for Mahindra. All sorts of tech used for braking, and of course in terms of hardware, we see the wheels on this particular vehicle. I'm driving the 20-inch alloy spec. You also get 19-inch alloys. There's a lot of foam used out there that really does change everything to do with drive quality and what you're getting on this particular vehicle. I think it is fairly decent when it comes to braking, fairly decent when it comes to suspension. And like I said, you get brilliant ground clearance, 207 mm. I think that gets the job done. They've also shown us in some demos, and I'm guessing we will be lucky or unlucky with the weather over here, because it was raining when we landed in Chennai and flooded in parts, especially in the by lanes. According to Mahindra, the water wading capabilities, the weight sensing of this car is industry leading. They showed us a small demo, but I'm hoping in this short trip to Chennai, I don't have to test that. If I do, it'll be great content for sure. So yeah, that's something to think about. And just like that, we've gone from an aircraft to a spaceship, or should I call this a Tesla Cybertruck made in India? No, I'm not doing it justice, because this is the XEV90, the flagship from the Mahindra stables, born electric on the same INGLO EV platform that we spoke about with the B6E. But the minute you sit in this, you feel like you are genuinely in a Cybertruck or in a souped up XUV 700. Some bits of DNA that have come in from the XUV 700, but largely the first thing that catches your attention is these 3 connected screens, the infotainment cluster running on a Qualcomm Snapdragon chipset. It just goes on and on and on all the way to the passenger side. I think that's super cool. A lot more buttons here, a lot more of an SUV feel here in this car compared to the B6E. But still, you don't have that aircraft-like thrust lever. But what you do have over here is a very compact, nice, small mouse joystick-like gear shifter right over here. And yes, this car comes with wireless Android Auto and CarPlay. And compared to all the cars we've driven, from the Germans to the Koreans, this one just works like a charm, connects in a matter of seconds. And usually when we drive Mahindra cars in the beginning, some of these features are still in work in progress mode. But over here, we're literally driving a car which will be launching in February or March, but everything's working and is working seamlessly. And I think that really tells you about the born electric vision. It's not just a marketing ploy, it's not just a gimmick. I think this is it. The company is very serious about EVs, and these are made in India EVs, like this flagship one, especially this one, the 9XE. Made in India, but made not just for India, for the rest of the world. The real pinnacle of craftsmanship is what we expect with this flagship. It starts at 21.9 lakhs ex-showroom. There will be other variants and models revealed, but if you compare this to an EV6 or an Ioniq twice or three times the cost, or even some of the Germans, hey, it's being made here in India, and it's quite a proud moment for all of us here in the subcontinent. Now, right at the start, I said it's based on the INGLO EV platform, the born electric platform that Mahindra has been working on for the past couple of years, similar to the B6E. What that really means is that the company can work on a basic platform, tweak it around, change, design, change some of the arrangement of where the battery goes, where the powertrain, all of these things can be changed, and you then get this car from the B6E. It'll be a little longer, it might be a little higher. This one has that coupe-like design, the roof really sliding in. It looks very different. It can be a polarizing sort of appearance for this one, but honestly, there's nothing like this on Indian roads. More importantly, you've got this slightly bigger steering wheel as compared to the B6E, and when you get into the car and you start driving it, even in its normal modes, it is a suspension which is meant for Indian roads. It really eats up all the puddles, all these khaddas as we call them, the potholes, and you barely feel it. More importantly, when you put the car in boost mode, you get this Fast and the Furious like feeling, and the car just pulls up all that power from all around it and gives you these bucket loads of bursts of acceleration, really like a power surge, like a lightning bolt, which is what it's all about. It's an electric car where they say you get over 600 kilometers of range. In the real world, if you get nearly 500 kilometers of range, you have two battery power pack options, 59 and 79 kilowatt hour. I mean, if you're getting anything over 500 kilometers in this car, it's great. A lot of people have been driving this since the morning, so I'm guessing that's the yardstick to judge by. But we're at 62% and 290 kilometers to go. So you can imagine that this is giving you well over 400 kilometers on a single charge. Fast charging options galore. You have a bunch of them here with the B6E and with the XEV 9e. Now, of course, the car comes with a panoramic sunroof, a 16-speaker Harman Kardon system with Dolby Atmos. This is mind-blowing. The Dolby Atmos sonic suite, all those effects coming in, A.R. Rahman inspired, literally. The car is an absolute joy compared to other Mahindra cars, and with the infotainment system and the audio system is an absolute pleasure to drive and to experience some of that entertainment. 7 airbags in the car, level 2 ADAS with features that we've not seen before. Even the fact that you can, take those intelligent turns and stuff like that, very Tesla-esque with the approach. Honestly, Elon Musk, if you're watching, you should know that these being made in India are cars which are ready to take on any challenger around the world. This one seems like everything's working spot on. In terms of design, like I said, there are spaces which don't make a lot of sense. There's hard touch, then there's soft touch. I think there's a very premium feel to this cabin, very commanding presence on the road. That's because of the dimensions of this particular car. So the car measures 4,790 millimeters in length, 1,900 mm in width, and 1,690 mm in height. Fun fact, it actually makes this longer than Mahindra's popular XUV 700. Its wheelbase, 2,775 mm, is also more than the XUV 700. It has a ground clearance of 207 millimeters and a 10-meter turning diameter. Now, the grille of the car is blanked out, which is an LED light bar that runs the width of the car, and then it has these really cool headlight clusters as well. Now, since this car is based on the Born EV INGLO platform, it comes with a 59 kilowatt hour and a 79 kilowatt hour lithium iron phosphate battery, lifetime warranty on these battery packs, and Mahindra claims that these batteries can go from 20 to 80% in just 20 minutes using a 175 kilowatt DC fast charger. Good luck finding that particular charger, but obviously that means that if you can charge this once a week and you just drive to office in the city, you just need to charge this one time in 7 days. I think that is great in terms of battery optimization, performance, and mitigating range anxiety. Now this car can easily do 0 to 100 in 6.7 seconds. But the thing with an EV is, as fast and chirpy as the acceleration is, we also need it to decelerate or brake and come to a grinding halt with that same level of enthusiasm and reassurance. And Mahindra claims, and this is an interesting stat, that the front and rear disc setup, that's along with their brake-by-wire tech, helps this car brake from 100 kilometers per hour to a standstill in 40 meters. Now that's saying something, because we keep talking about 0 to 100 figures, but what about 100 to 0 figures? 40 meters. That means if I'm accelerating, I've hit 100 and I want to brake now, very, very reassuring that the braking system is such. I just hope that with maintenance and over time with wear and tear, this really holds up, because that is a very important stat when it comes to EVs. With the perception of how these cars can really go fast, it's also important to ensure you're on control. And I think that is a stat that needs to be highlighted. I'm smiling because I'm sort of confused about which one was more fun to drive. Let's switch on CarPlay. It's working seamlessly, no bugs, which sometimes happens with much more premium cars as well. The XEV 9e is an absolute joy to drive. That's not all. If you're talking about the B6e, it's a little more compact, but honestly, it's a great car as well. We're talking about the Born Electric vision by Mahindra. I think we're onto something special. I'm on my way to the Mahindra SUV proving track to test a few more things, and through the course of the week, even back at the Tech Today studios in Mumbai, we'll be testing these, putting these EVs through their paces, do a range anxiety test. Some of these are in theory. We have sort of an idea in practice, but there's so much more. Thank you so much for tuning in to this special episode, absolutely electric, from Chennai and the Mahindra Research Valley and facilities here, which are quite magnificent. But there's so much more coming across our social media channels. Do let me know in the comment section below if there's any other questions you have about these EVs, about the tech, about the drive quality, range anxiety. We'll be covering this through and through, the latest and greatest in tech. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.